Welcome to another Speak Harmony podcast. We're live on YouTube Tuesdays from 7 to 8 p.m. Speak Harmony believes unity starts with community. We are building harmony one voice at a time. This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Apap Media, a photo and production full-service media company specializing in podcasting, multi-camera recording, video, and live streaming services. You may contact them at info@apapmedia.com. That's info@apapmedia.com. Telephone number 470-657-1998. Here we go. Welcome. Wow. So,
intro going on.
Oh my goodness, I love it. Welcome to another edition. This is great. So, Sharon, talk to me. What did you do this weekend? Well, how was your weekend?
I had a good weekend. Sometimes it's so hard to remember. I can't even remember what I did. So I did a workshop with one of our guests that we had. Check it out, with Catherine and Freeman Moore. And we did a workshop on financial literacy. And because I'm the heart lady and talk about relationships, I talked about the relationship with money, and we did an assessment to see how we really feel about money, the myths, the beliefs that we carry. So we did that on Saturday. We had almost 20 people in attendance, and it was well received. So that's what I did that Saturday.
It was great.
Yeah, and then
It was
Sunday
great.
I kind of chilled. What did you do?
Well, I was there to support. I mean, it was a great event. I mean, it was well supported. It was well put together. I mean, the people were engaging. It was nice, and it was good to see, people talk about their relationship with money and with the heart.
That's right.
As you shared.
Yeah.
So that was great. That was great.
And I learned how important it is to invest.
Yes.
Right? To have insurance, life insurance in particular. We never know when.
Be prepared.
That's right, to be prepared. We never know what's going to happen. So it was great intro, and we look forward to doing others around the Metro Atlanta area.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In our community, we know that for a fact that in our community, that's a problem.
Yeah.
We have that kind of weird relationship with regards to money.
And life
and life
insurance,
insurance.
investing in ourselves in particular. We'll go and invest in hair care and nail care, whether it's male or female, we invest in those things.
Material stuff. That's what it is. And so, it's good that we're starting there. We're starting with, groundation, the roots. So we're starting from scratch, from the bottom up. And so they'll get it.
A lot. And, because one of my pet peeves, though, that I was talking about is I'm so tired of seeing funerals with GoFundMe. It's so sad. It's so
I'm
sad.
so allergic
this is
to
why
that.
I'm passionate about, let's learn what we need to do and let's be prepared.
And we say we love our loved ones, but you know what? We leave them in debt. So many times we do that because honestly, sis, when people die, that's when you find out that our folks had no plans. No plans whatsoever. And the loved ones that they leave behind struggle.
That's right.
And then, believe it or not, they also, the family breaks apart.
Yeah.
Because then you have where they're ill-prepared. They're really not prepared. And so it
the
causes
arguments
frictions.
ensues.
Oh my
There's
goodness.
multiple family members that feel like they have don't let them have some money now. That's a whole different story.
A whole different story. I
But
mean,
that was it.
yes,
So we
but
did good.
Yes. So what day is today? Talk to us.
Right? As you know, Speak Harmony family, we start off the episodes with the National Day. So it's just a fun way and giving you some little tidbits. Did you know? So today is tortilla chips. It is tortilla chips, and originally they are made from tortilla. But guess what, Sharon? It was an accident, really, how they got this shape in the triangle.
Really?
The tortilla is round.
Yes.
Right? And so when it was being produced, the machine kind of messed up, and one of the owners said, well, let's just cut it up. And hence we got the triangle tortilla shape.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was, can you guess what state it was mass produced in?
What state? Let's start with Texas.
A little further.
Really? Texas.
Further
Oklahoma?
West, further west.
Really?
Down southwest, I think that is.
Really? No way.
Los Angeles.
No way.
Los
Really?
Angeles
In
in
Los
the
Angeles?
40s. Yeah, there was Rebecca Webb Carranza. She received credit for making the chips popular. She and her husband operated this deli and tortilla factory. And like I said, it happened by accident, and you know, the rest is history. So, since we are talking about tortillas, and we know that that is a Mexican treat, it is also today, February 24th, Mexicanos remember national heritage and the meaning of their bandera, which is a flag, as red, white, and green. And every year on the February 24th, the celebration marks the victory of Mexicans in the War of Independence against the Spanish. And guess how long that war lasted? Just about 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. And you know, Sharon, I'm not a news person at all, and I'm not even embarrassed to say it, but what's going on now as we speak currently in Mexico, we're just praying that they will come to peace and harmony. You know, really, just come to a full stop where that's concerned, because it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Peace, and we're just praying for peace right now.
So yes, we're asking for those in Mexico and the surrounding areas to do what? Speak harmony.
Harmony, yes, yes. And
Tonight.
last night, what about last night though? Last night was that celebration. One of our guests a few months ago.
That's right. She was here.
Yeah, our Snellville councilwoman, Kat Hardrick.
Hey there, Kat.
Hey, Kat. She's amazing. The
Yes.
stuff that she does in Snellville and around the surrounding areas.
That's right.
She's outstanding, because she honored 3 greats in Snellville. She really did. She took the time out to dedicate to these folks and big them up.
Yeah, I bumped into her at Southwest Gwinnett.
South Gwinnett High.
South Gwinnett High.
Yes.
And she was there supporting their Black History Month. And
That's her. That's
when
her.
I was there, my grandson goes to that high school, so I was supporting that, and his mother was supporting, was supplying or providing the food. Sun City, big up Sun City Restaurant.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
so we had a full week.
Full week.
And weekend, and a full week ahead.
Oh yeah. And I mean, you know, today on our call we have a weekly call with our Council General here in throughout the Southeast, and so they every Tuesday between 2 and 3 they have that call, and it's open to everyone in the diaspora. I mean, it doesn't matter who, whether you're Jamaican or not. Talks about what they're doing as far as relief is concerned. Building back Jamaica after that Hurricane Melissa. So
it's still happening, folks. Don't forget it.
And you know what? There's so many fundraisers going on. There's so many people still contributing to those efforts. So we thank everyone for that. Yes.
We give thanks for the love, for sure.
So,
so you know,
wow,
tonight's guest, so nice. We had to do it twice.
Yes.
That's right. Dr. Harcourt Fuller is back with us. He's the dynamic storyteller whose work bridges history and cinema across the continent. And you know, I don't think we mentioned the last time, but that he is a Fulbright global scholar.
Yes.
With degrees from the City of University in New York and the London School of Economics. So I was like, a Fulbright scholar. I said, let me tell you what a Fulbright scholar is. It's a faculty member, researcher, or professional who receives a prestigious United States government grant to lecture or conduct research abroad, fostering international understanding. So, Fulbright scholars exchange ideas and find solutions to global challenges. And so big up, big up, big up, big up.
Big up, Dr. Fuller.
So he's back today, but as we said from the last episode, we wanted to hear a little bit more about the Maroons,
That is
not
correct.
only in Jamaica, but the diaspora. And he has brought his partner along
His
with him.
partner, oh my goodness, and
Yes.
she is another powerhouse. Dr. Sharon, talk about Dr. Melissa Buckley, okay? So good evening, everyone. I'm Sharon Thompson, host of Speak Harmony, and let me tell you something. You're all in for a treat tonight, okay? Tonight we have not only Dr. Fuller, but like I said, he's packing punches because he's brought along Dr. Melissa Buckley. And she is this amazing sister who is also a scholar. Okay, she's a cultural advocate, a founding voice committed to preserving Maroon identity, protecting ancestral land, and advancing the sovereignty of her people in today's world. She embodies that intellect, courage, and ancestral responsibility. So when we talk about resistance, she lives it. When we talk about leadership, she models it. When we talk about legacy, she carries it. So I need all of you guys in the audience, online, to rise up and bring us that energy. Lift your applause right now and help me welcome to the stage our guardian of history and a voice for sovereign future generations, Dr. Melissa Buckley and Dr. Fuller. Come bring it in, bring it in. Come on up.
So, yeah.
There we are. There we go.
So they
Bring
started, Sharon, and welcome guests, Maroon Diaspora Ambassadors,
Yes,
right? From MADA, MADA. It's a volunteer-led collective founded overseas by Maroons, Dr. Harcourt Fuller, Dr. Brittany Osborne, and our very own Dr. Melissa Buckley. So we welcome you once again.
Big up. As we say in Jamaica, big up.
Thank you.
Enough
Thank
big
you
ups.
again. It's great being here again. And let me say, the only thing better than one Sharon is how many?
Two.
Hey, do you have your tortilla chips? Today is
Oh,
tortilla
yeah.
day.
Bring it up.
Nice.
Let me say big up to Mexico.
No, Harcourt. Yeah, I know.
It's yours.
Pass it through the. we share.
Big up on Mexico. I went to Tulum for the first. I went to Mexico for last year to Tulum, and that was my first time there. And I'm sure we'll talk about it, but I want to also highlight that Mexico has Maroon communities. One of the great Maroon leaders, Gaspar Yanga, who's from Mexico as well. So we'll talk about that. But
Go ahead,
pleasure
talk
to be
about it
here.
now.
Yes.
Talk about it. We're
Oh
on it.
no, please, Dr. Buckley needs to
All
introduce
right.
No. I was looking forward to hearing that. You actually reminded me of one of my visits to Puerto Vallarta, and it was a unique experience because there were these children that approached me, and I have locks, and so they approached me
I
and
do
they
too.
wanted to touch my hair, and I was like, "Oh, what is?" But a lady who observed, she was Mexican, she came over and she explained to me, she said, there is a small community of people, she said, people that look like you. They live in a more remote area of Puerto Vallarta. And so as you're saying this, Hardcore, it brings it back to my recollection because there is some very intentional and deliberate connection there throughout Mexico.
Wow. Interesting.
We don't hear about that
No.
that often, or I
Well,
don't
I've never
really
heard of
know
it.
the history of it myself. So I'd love for you all to expand upon that.
So let me just, I suppose the first thing we need to say, I don't know if you want to start with who or what is a Maroon. I
Who,
don't know.
and that,
Please.
and that
Yes.
was kind of where I was going to go because how did they? I know they're Maroons in Jamaica. I know they're Maroons all over the diaspora, but who are Maroons, and how did they emerge? Where did they come from? Who really are the Maroons?
Yeah. So what I would say is, I think the experience of Maroonage or Maroonage comes out of the transatlantic slave trade. right? So starting even from where people were captured on the west coast of Africa. Remember, people fought. They fought back. People didn't go willingly. So when villages were raided, etc., you had Africans who would escape, and they would try to find somewhere where they could find safety or hide. Right. So whether that was in a forest or in the mountains or those types of places. Um, that's really where Maroonage begins. We talk about Maroons in the Americas, but we have to understand that wherever you had slavery in the context of the Atlantic world, it started in Africa. And then once enslaved people, over 12 million by conservative estimates, arrived in the Americas, wherever you had slave societies, people would escape and go into the mountains, the forests, wherever they could find refuge. And of course, the first people who did that in the Americas were the various indigenous peoples, whether we're talking about Native American, the native peoples of South and Central America and the Caribbean, and in Jamaica's case, the Taino people, who some people refer to as the Arawak, right? But the Tainos, and so they were the first Maroons. So they escaped slavery and they found refuge in the mountains, etc. And then when African people were brought to the Americas, then they also found refuge in those places. And just the what that means, therefore, is that everywhere, bar nowhere, where you had slavery, you had maroon people. Whether we're talking about Mexico, as I mentioned before, and you have great leaders like Gaspar Yanga, who was one of the first known Maroons who fought the Spanish, and created one of the first free communities in the Americas. And notice I didn't say the first free black community, one of the first free. So you have in the Palenques in Brazil. And then, of course, you can pick whichever country, Ecuador, Peru, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, Trinidad and Tobago, I mean, French Guyana, Suriname. Maroons were found everywhere.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I understand that the Maroon communities were also brought to the New World by Muslim Africans centuries before greats like Harriet Tubman.
Well, what we should understand about so Maroons are a subset of the larger African peoples, and as I mentioned, the indigenous people, which I always make a point to acknowledge that they were the first, because the experience of Maroonage or Maroonage comes out of that, right? But the people who came over from Africa who were enslaved, you did have a large number of enslaved Africans who came from societies that had already who were Muslims, right? But then you have Africans from with their own indigenous spiritual beliefs and
Right.
practices, religion that came over. So Maroon people are a very diverse set of people in terms of geography, religion, language, etc., etc.,
Yeah.
ethnicity as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, as it relates to the Maroons in Jamaica, how would you say? I mean, what role did the Spanish period in Jamaica, and I'm going there, play in the formation of the Maroon settlements on the island?
Before I answer that question, Dr. Buckley, you want to add anything before I go on?
No, I really enjoy, even though we are partners in this work, Harcourt is a Maroon scholar. And so I appreciate every time we talk, I learn. So yeah, I want to
Yeah.
really what to say.
Yeah. So,
So
Dr. Buckley, I would really like one of those T-shirts you have on.
She brought it up, and I was like,
yeah,
the original Maroon
I
5.
love it. I love it.
Right, yeah, this is I
Yes,
actually
in
purchased
a
this.
medium.
Yeah, I
Two
got you.
mediums. Yes.
black-owned company here. Well, I'm in Baltimore, but it's a company out of DC. But I can take care of you for sure.
All right.
That's what I'm talking
Thank
about.
you.
Thank you. And the original Maroon 5, though, tell me about that. Expound on that a little bit. I'm just curious now.
Sure, yeah. So I don't know if you can see, but there are
Yes.
five women pictured
Yes,
on.
five sisters.
Yeah, of course, Queen Nanny, Mother Harriet,
Harriet.
Dara dos Palmares, Cecile, Fatiman, and Queen of St. John Brefu. I always mispronounce her name, so anyone feel free to correct me. But these women, so I am a womanist scholar, which centers the experiences of Black women and is a form and an act of resistance. So when I think of resistance, these women and the women in my family come to mind because of how they led, how they resisted, and how they modeled these ideologies.
Thank you for that. Sorry, Dr. Harcourt. I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off
no,
there.
you're good. As a matter of fact, I do want to comment on one of the women that Dr. Buckley highlighted, and that was Dandara dos Palmares, or Dandara of Palmares. Um, Palmares was the largest Maroon community in the Americas, and it lasted for probably almost 100 years before it was incorporated into the rest of Brazil, and that's where you get Ganga Zumba. That's where you get Zumbi, right? And then of course again Dandara. She was a Maroon queen like Nanny, right? And so we have so many heroes and sheroes that we've never learned about. And look at this on a T-shirt right now. We are reminded of or learning about a Maroon queen in Brazil. Just on that point, I would like to recommend a film. I'm a filmmaker and I'm a history professor, and I designed a class on Maroons in the Americas at Georgia State University, where I teach. And I use this film. I believe it's free or it's on YouTube. It's called Quilombo
Okay, spell
by
for us.
Quilombo. Quilombo. And Quilombo is a Portuguese word. Well, let me actually rephrase that. Quilombo is actually a word from the Congo Angola region of West Central Africa, which the Maroons of Brazil use to describe their community. And right. So the, this film Quilombo was done by Carlos Diegues, who he's the director. It's a fascinating film. It's a fiction film, but it's based on the history of the Palmares Maroon uh,
In Brazil.
community, or or the Maroon, the Maroon community. So check it out. I'm a visual person, so I like to recommend films. Of course, I can always recommend books. But just very quickly on your question about the Spanish Maroons. So the Spanish, they, of course, the Spanish were the first colonial power in Jamaica, and they didn't have a large footprint, even though they were there for about 140 something, 150 years. They took hold of Jamaica in essence around 1509, and then the British attacked Jamaica and took it over from the Spanish in 1655. So 1509 to 1655, almost 150 years, the Spanish ruled Jamaica, and of course they enslaved the indigenous Tainos, some of whom fled to the mountains and became the first Maroons. And the Spanish also brought over enslaved Africans of their own. Um, and of course, later on, when the British came in, they brought in even more Africans. So that kind of explains the Spanish period. And during the Spanish period, you did have enslaved populations. Um, and in fact, the Spanish actually um, enlisted some of the Maroons to help them to try to repel the British when they came over. And so you also have that as well. It's a very fascinating history.
Interesting.
Yeah. Thank you for teaching us
Interesting.
that.
Oh yeah, I love that.
See, that's why I
Yeah.
like to listen.
Yes, 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 yes. And you know, it's so funny how like minds attract because Dr. Buckley, I mean, I was digging into your background a little bit and found out that we have someone in common, you know, another sister down there in Jamaica. A real stalwart, Audrey
Mm.
Peterman.
Oh
Audrey
wow!
Peterman, big up, big up, big up. But I tell you, she is known. I mean, this is a park ranger. Her and her husband, no joke, they retired to Jamaica, and it took a Jamaican to do that, right? Because she took her American-born husband to Jamaica to retire in Jamaica, a real nanny, right? So I
Sure.
mean, when I tell you, I mean, we're talking about legendary black women, black women's national parks, and she reminded me. She shot me a text to say, "Hey, Mama Moses, Mary McLeod Bethune, and Ida B. Wells changed history." So we're closing out Black History Month, but we don't want to forget those sisters, those women, those great,
It's
powerful
it's
women.
it's such a beautiful bridge, and
It
because yes, we
is.
are closing out Black History Month, but we know that Black History is
It's every day.
365 days, right, of the year. It's a lifestyle. It's our lived experience. But we are entering into Women's History Month, and so
Yes.
with that, what it does is it gives us the space to be able to continue the exploration. That's one of the reasons why I really love this depiction on the shirt, because it's not just talking about the history of Black women in one region or one country. We're talking about Black women throughout the African diaspora and how they have contributed to our lived experience today.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
too many. There's been too many a time where they talk about the men in the diaspora, but don't really talk
Yeah.
about
Don't
the women.
recognize the women.
And in most of the organizations, women show up. They show up and they show out. There would be no Marcus Garvey movement without the women who have supported. So,
That is so
I truly appreciate that we need to juxtapose the powerhouse of both the masculine and the feminine
Yes.
entity within
Yes.
it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was
Yes.
just thinking, really, though, going back to the history of Maroons, how do you see that the Maroon identity has influenced modern times, not only in Jamaica, but throughout?
I mean, I'll just say very quickly, if I may, if you think about let me ask you, what is the most famous Jamaican cuisine
Ackee and Sawfish.
in the world outside of Jamaica? Let
Oh,
me
and
put it
oh,
like
jerk chicken. Jerk.
jerk.
The jerk.
Just let's
Jerk.
just say
Jerk.
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 Maroons created jerk. A jerk is a war food. Because
Oh.
see, jerk is a military food. It comes out of essentially. Well, so what I would say is that, okay, let me put it this way. The ingredients of jerk, first you have to start with the Tainos. The word barbecue comes from the Taino, the Arawak word barbacoa, which the Portuguese then incorporated, and and then the Spanish. So the barbecue, putting meat or fish
Yes.
on these sticks and smoking it. So that there's an indigenous Taino and a Carib element to it. There are African elements and also European elements to it as well. So this came together when the Maroons, in the mountains. I mean, one of the ideas is that as they were fighting the Spanish and the British, imagine if you're cooking and you don't want the smoke to escape into the air, so that the
A
Spanish or the
smoke
British could
signal.
see.
Send us.
Right, so they would dig pits in the ground, and they would, of course, rub up the fish and the wild hog and other things with the pimento berries and all the spices and all of that stuff, bury it, cover it with leaves, and then cover it with earth. And then that's how jerk was born. So when you ask what has been the contribution of Maroons to Jamaican culture or to the world, I would say the cuisine. And then, secondly and finally, we cannot forget that reggae music, if you think about the roots of reggae music, all of the roots, right, it has Kumina, it has Maroon Kromanti. Of course, it came out of Mento as well. You know,
Yes.
it's a hodgepodge of our different genres, and of course, reggae is also influenced by R&B and rock and roll and all of that stuff. But certainly, the Maroon drumming is a core within that.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
Alyssa, what you say?
Yes.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's our survival, the survival instinct, which I really believe is embedded within our DNA. When you think about the history of Maroon people, these were formerly enslaved people who freed themselves, and they had a strong commitment to sovereignty. You understand? And so I think that this is where you see the spirit of resistance that is still powerful I mean, even, most recently with the hurricane and, our Maroon brethren over in in Western Jamaica, and where, I think that some people struggle to reconcile how Maroons carry and conduct themselves and the resistance, the position that we take. Some people will see it as rebellious, but no, it's resistance so that we can protect our sovereignty, protect our identity, protect our lineage.
I like the
And
way
to
you
add to
frame
that,
that. Yes.
if I may add to that, I'm glad you mentioned resistance because remember that the successes that the Jamaican Maroons enjoyed over the British, for example, that resonated into other parts of the world. Haiti, for example, of course, the Maroon Wars, the Jamaican Maroon Wars preceded the Haitian Revolution, but it also resonated in what became the United States. It resonated in other colonies where they're like, we got to watch these slaves. We got to watch these people because we don't want what the Maroons did to Jamaica
That's right.
here. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Absolutely. And Dr. Buckley, coming back to the T-shirt, I'd love for you to talk to the audience a little bit more about Queen Nanny.
Yes. So, if I may, I guess I'll use myself as the vessel here. I grew up born to a mother who she herself was born in Moortown, Portland, and so she was raised by her grandparents. So I grew up hearing about Nanny and the strength that Nanny embodied. That Nanny was a warrior. She was a leader, and she was committed again to sovereignty, and she was committed to her people. And so, growing up and hearing these stories, the stories took on life for me. Because what it said to me at a very early age, before I was even able to stitch the pieces of the story together, it said that there is an example for what it means to be a maroon, and this lady, Nanny, she is the example that we ought to follow.
Interesting. And to that, there's the nanny, but then there's Cujo.
Kojo.
As some people say Kojo, some people say Cujo. It just depends on your accent or how you pronounce it. But man, what about Brother Cujo? What do you tell us more about him? Anyone, you can take that question, Harcourt or Dr. Buckley, Dr. Fuller. It doesn't matter. Go ahead and
Let,
talk to
let,
us about
let me
them.
say just one thing I would also like to introduce here is the name Nanny. Because the name Nani is actually a title, and it's the original name, well, title for Nani is Nana or Nana, right, which comes from the Akan people, right. It can mean a king or a queen or a chief or a respective elder. As a quick side note, Popcorn, the dancehall artist, was just given a chieftaincy in Ghana, and they gave him a title that begins with Nana, right? And I remember someone saying to me never know say Nana could be a man name. And so I wanted to just to recall that I go
Right?
back and forth between Nanny and Nana, right? People know her as Queen Nanny, so I go with that. But I just want to remind people that her name is actually a title, which is Nana. No,
That's right.
if Nani is the queen and Kojo is the king. That's
King.
how I would put it. And both of them, Nani was in eastern Jamaica, belonging to the Windward Maroons. This is how historically we have, for lack of a better term, divided the two sides of the island. And Kojo and Akompong, and etc. were in the western or leeward part of Jamaica, and both of them, and they said that they were siblings, and we can talk about that, right? There were about five siblings, and they were the main Maroon leaders. And then the names Kojo, it's Akan, Kwao, it's Akan, Jani, those kinds of names. A Kompong, which is really a Champong. These are all names that you would find in Ghana today, and Kojo, even though they call him Captain Kojo, right? He was really a general, just like Nani was a general. And so I think that we have this legacy where we're using British terms. We use them because most people recognize them, but Kojo was not a captain. He was really a general, right? If he were a European, they would call him General Kojo. And if Nani were European, they would. I mean, she's a woman, so also we
They
have to
wouldn't call
factor
her
that.
one.
They wouldn't call her that.
They
So, but
wouldn't.
but they're really generals. They're
Yeah,
generals.
that's yeah.
Hmm.
I didn't
Yeah,
know that part. Thank you for sharing.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So when you said Ghana, it just led me to believe. I mean, I know as Jamaican born, I usually, for some reason, and talking to my fellow Jamaicans, they would say to me, well, we more relate to, our people really came from Nigeria. And the more I think about Nanny and Kojo and the rest of them, I'm thinking, not really. I'm thinking we're more Ghanaian. I mean, can any of you speak to that part of it? I mean, that idea, because I think there's more Ghanaian than Nigerian. And
What I would say is just this. I mean, I
it's,
think that we have
it's
to remember that back in that time, there was no Ghana, Nigeria. So
that's
what we can
true.
safely say is that we are West African.
True.
The, you know, the,
Yeah, yeah.
the, the line in the sand, we don't actually know. I mean, there are different, um, scholars that will present evidence to support one versus the other. But I think that what is most important is that we are West African people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for
If,
that.
if I may
Yes.
Clarity.
add to that, what I would say about and it is important too, the ethnicity is important, right? But like Dr. Buckley said, we look at it from a Pan-African, um, we look at it from a Pan-African perspective. However, and I do want to emphasize this. I know we tend to say, Jamaicans are Ghanaians. The truth, as Dr. Buckley is saying, is that the enslaved people who were taken from West Africa came from practically all of the countries in Western and Central Africa: Angola, Congo, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Liberia. I mean, all of these countries, right? There was, however, a core of enslaved people from what became known as Ghana, which was previously called the Gold Coast. And so studies have shown that probably about 45%, more or less, of Jamaicans in general are from the country that became known as Ghana,
God.
right? And the other very quick thing I want to add is that, and you'll find this in Suriname and French Guyana and Brazil and some of the and Barbados, is that the Asante people or the Ashanti people became, they were the ones who became the, uh, the leaders, the dominant leaders, because of their military history and traditions back in West Africa. So that's why when you look at the leaders in any one of these countries, they were usually, not always, but usually Akan, and more specifically Asante or Ashanti.
Ashanti.
So in other words, if even if we look at the language, the reason why the Jamaican Maroon language, which is called Kromanti, is largely derived from the Akan tree language, is because the Asante people or the Akan people, which also includes Fanti, they were the groups that became the leaders, and so their language dominated. It doesn't mean that other African languages were not spoken. And in fact, in the Maroon language, you can find Igbo words and Yoruba words and all of these from different languages. But you did have a dominant core. That is how some scholars would put it. But this is the final thing I'll say. So Maroons draw from the gene pool of all West African peoples, as well as the indigenous Tainos. But the dominant core, and again, if you look at the names of the main leaders, they were Akan or a Santi, Fanti, etc.
Mhm.
So,
I want to add to that, if I may, just briefly. A couple of years ago, I did my African ancestry test, and I was certain that I was going to learn that I was either Nigerian or Ghanaian. Well, come to find out that my family originates from what we now know to be Guinea-Bissau. I was confused. I was like, wait a minute, this is not what's supposed to be because I'm Jamaican. You understand?
this ain't adding up.
It not go so. It not go so.
Wow.
And so, in addition to that discovery, it also helped me to understand that my ancestors were Fulani. And so, as confusing as it was, it also was, I felt a sadness, right, that I had to even go to these lengths to try to find this piece of my story. And also, I felt grateful to have that piece of the story as well. But it adds to exactly what Harcourt was just saying, reinforcing the fact that we as Maroon people are indeed spread throughout the western and the central part of the continent.
Interesting.
And you even have there are these oddities in history. You have some Malagasy people from Madagascar,
Madagascar.
right, who made it to Jamaica as well. And even though again most of our people come from West Africa, and of course the indigenous people of Jamaica.
Well, we have to remember, out of many, one
We are
people.
one people.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
So,
And
uh,
and one Coco.
full
Full
basket.
basket.
Full basket. Every
So
necklace.
there.
It's up uncle.
So there you go. So just what do you call it? Marinating a little bit more deeper, a little deeper culturally and in our identity. Since you touched on that, Dr. Buckley. So what is the significance? I'm asking now because we have all sorts of ways of connecting, and so we have the horn. We have the what's that? The abeng,
Bang.
abeng horn that they use in the maroon. Uh-oh. I knew he had it. Okay, go ahead. Give us a little hint. Give us a little hint. Come on, go
No,
on.
go ahead. I just
And
wanted
no,
to show you're
no,
talking
Okay.
about the.
she was
I'm
gonna
gonna say
ask
I
you
thought
to
you were
blow
gonna
it.
blow it.
Oh no, this is a sacred instrument, and
Oh.
only certain people blow it. So believe
Really?
not. Yes,
Really?
yes.
Okay, so
It's a
tell us a little
train.
bit. Yes, tell us about that. For those
Dr.
of us
Buckley,
who
please.
have no idea, could you educate us, Dr. Buckley?
Well, I mean, what more can I say? I think that that speaks for itself. That not any and anybody
Can't do
can
it.
blow the abang. Not any and anybody can beat the drum. Everybody has a role and a function within the community,
The
and
community.
it's important that a part of sovereignty is protecting not just the land, but also protecting these cultural practices because they are so connected to our identity. So we must revere the Abeng and its purpose because every blow serves has a different meaning and purpose. It's not just for show and fashion.
Right, right. It's a way of communicating. So
The word
how
abeng, just to tie it back to the Akan people, the West Africa, the word abeng is essentially with a minor variation in pronunciation and spelling. It's the same word from tree, from the Akan word tree. If you go to Ghana right now and say abeng, they might say aben. right? So it's we have words that are still used in the Maroon language that come from Ghana, come from what is now Ghana. And so the Abeng was used as a war horn or a signaling horn during the Maroon Wars, largely against the English, the British, where the Maroon warriors would send messages that the British could not decode, when to attack, when to retreat, you know. And then, of course, even in modern times, the abeng is used uh, to send messages. If someone is lost in the forest, in the Blue and Jonquil Mountains, they can send a message to say, this person is lost, or we found him, but he's injured, and we need, to extract him, or he passed. Um, and also during Christmas and during other times of the year, the town crier will blow it to gather the people. And yes, it's also used for entertainment, when they have, maroon drumming, singing, and dancing. But it is always respected as a sacred
Sacred.
symbol
Wow.
that connects the living to to our ancestors.
And
Good.
if I may just add to that, it's so Harcourt and I and Brittany have been talking a lot about cultural preservation, right? We I guess we're fortunate to live in this era of technology. I mean, look what technology is allowing us to do right now. We're
Right
able
now.
to
Yes.
in this digital space. But that also requires us to be extremely intentional about preserving the culture. Harcourt shared with us a couple of months ago that we just lost a very important member of our community. And so, as the elders die, the concern is the culture. Like, we must preserve the culture so that the young people growing up now, or even like, we're not going to pretend that all people our age and above know and understand Maroon culture. Because it's a lifelong process. We must constantly immerse ourselves. We must constantly be in communion with one another so that we can learn and relearn some things. But the cultural preservation is vital to our existence as Maroon people. I just wanted to put that
Yeah.
out.
And with
and
that
and
being
that's why we
said, and with that being said, talking about preservation, language preserves the culture, correct? Um, I was interested to know if in the Maroon communities, do they still use a particular language that is can be still traced today? Right? So, like in more town and so forth, are they using? Are some of the elders? Anybody's carrying that forward?
Let me just say briefly to what Melissa was saying, that we lost a drummer, we lost a drum maker, who is, of course, more than a drum maker, right? But the drum is a very important symbol for us, and that's why the work that we're doing, Melissa, Dr. Brittany Osborne, for example, we formed the Maroon Diaspora Ambassadors, or MADA,
Meta.
to make our contributions to what is already being done in the Maroon communities in Jamaica in a variety of ways.
And
But
we
with
thank you
respect
for
to
that, by the way. We
thank
thank
you.
you.
With respect
Thank
to
you.
language, I must big up Tisheka Sterling, uh, who is a community member from Moortown, who runs the language conference, which is a part of the Nanny Day festival, which happens the third weekend of October during National Heroes Week. And so they have this language conference on the Sunday of that week or that weekend, where they try to, they're working to restore to the extent possible aspects of the Kromanti language, the Maroon language, and it's a very important work being done. Um, People still speak words here, phrases there, and particularly during Maroon rituals, where they are communicating with the ancestors, then more words will come out, and all of that stuff. But the Maroon language, Kromanti, is not widely spoken even among Maroons, because again, some of the elders who have passed, they take the language with them.
With them.
Um, UWI is doing important work. There's Professor Devonish from the Jamaican language unit at UWI, and they do important work in preserving Jamaican language, and including Kromanti.
Well, I have a question regarding just the government, the Maroon government, because when you talk to folks about, the Maroons, for example, I mean, I've spoken to people from Jamaica and I says, hey, they'll say, well, I have Maroon blood. And when I hear that, I'm like, what do you mean by that? You know, there's a tension really between, the Jamaican government and the Maroon autonomy, sort of can you speak to that a little bit? I mean, what's that stuff? Because I know in the Maroons in Jamaica, they do have their own government, so to speak. They do. And so there's that yin and yang with, what's going on right now. It gets a little political. Do you mind addressing that or just giving us a snippet?
If I may, very quickly, just like how you have the Asante people in Ghana, ruled by the Asante Hene, a king, and they are also the Asantes or the Akans are Ghanaians. You have the Quebecois or the Quebec people of Canada. They are Quebecois, but they're with the Canadians. You have the Basque country in Spain, right? And you have Native Americans in this country. They're also Americans. Maroons have, I would argue, a unique history and culture. We have our own territories. We have a traditional leader known as a colonel or a chief. We have our own language, etc. But we are also Jamaicans. In my view, there is no conflict between Maroon people and the Jamaican state. All right, none whatsoever. All right, from my view, I think that we live in a world where people want you to choose sides. I am a Jamaican born man. I'm also an American citizen, and that makes me an American. I live in the South, right? And there are other forms of my identity. It doesn't mean that you're either this or. So I'm both a Maroon and a Jamaican and an American citizen. Um, I'm not denying that there aren't some issues over uh, land, because, of course, there are important things, particularly out in the West, in terms of mining and all that type of stuff, and the issue of sovereignty. But the United Nations does recognize Maroon peoples all over the Americas, that they have the rights of indigenous and traditional peoples, the right to govern themselves, the right to determine how their economies will be governed, and all of that type of stuff. You do that working with the country, right? But the Maroons have rights, and those rights should be respected, but they are not necessarily in conflict with the state. So that's how I would put it.
That answers it. Thank you.
So,
I would totally agree with that. And the only thing that I will add to that, I wish that we had a collective understanding that this is really about liberation. It's about ancestral liberation. It does not mean that Maroon people don't want to be recognized as Jamaicans, because, as Harcourt said, he is a Jamaican. We are Jamaicans. It's just that we want to be able to live our lives in a way that is consistent with our ancestral upbringing and teaching.
exactly. And so I know that your organization, Matter, is doing some work for preservation in the Maroon areas in Jamaica. Can you speak to that? Especially, particularly after Melissa.
Are you that
Dr.
awkward? Watch.
No, Dr. Buckley, no, that's you. I was going to say Melissa, but I'm saying Dr. Buckley.
Hurricane, he won't let me live it down. So the work that we have been able, and we want to be clear that, it's not like we came in and saved the day. It's just that we have been able to partner with people that are currently living in the Upper Rio Grande Valley. Because while we know that Western Jamaica was devastated by the hurricane, we know that there were also people who experienced complete loss in other parts of the island. And so we saw that in our community. And so we were able to partner and to support restoration. And really that's what it is. But also our work is, it's not, it didn't start and end with Melissa. Our work is ongoing because of our commitment to preserving our cultural identity.
Yeah,
Interesting.
we're in the diaspora. We may have access to resources, to things, and we love. I mean, Melissa will tell you, we love the territory. We love Jamaica, of course, but the Maroon communities, it's home, and we want to see how we can make our contribution with the blessings that we have and the resources and all of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Give
we're
thanks for that.
yes, yes, yes. So we're about to wrap up here, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you because look, we're going to be the ancestors in another 30, 40 years from now. So I'm stretching it out, but I mean, what would you say as far as the younger generations? What do you really want to leave with them? What do you want to say, hand off to them to understand about their Maroon history? How do you want to leave that? How do you want to transition? Because I mean, we will be the ancestors. Let's be real. In a few decades, how are we going to transfer?
I
You know,
mean, if I just
the
may very
torch.
quickly, that actually is a question that makes me happy and emotional. I have two daughters,
Oh,
and I've always said that I was born in Jamaica. I would never try to force them to love the country like I do because they weren't born there, but I want them to respect it. And my two daughters, one is 10, one is 17, they understand, they identify, they recognize their Jamaican heritage and their Maroon heritage. My older daughter actually has a T-shirt with Nanny on it. She represents Maroon. She always wants to learn, and all of that type of stuff. And so whether it's a child or a niece, nephew, or whomever it is, I think people like Melissa and myself, we just have to do our job. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a scholar. So whatever work that I do, I'm doing a movie on Nanny. I've done a documentary. Whatever work that I do is for them and is for the world.
we
And I
just want to
guess
thank them.
quickly,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
No,
no, go ahead, Dr. Buckley. We're just
I
shouting
was
out the people online who are just shouting and just happy to have you guys on school us, on our history, our Maroon history. So thank you for
I
joining,
would
guys.
just
Yes.
quickly add to what he said. What I would offer to the generation is that, being a part of this community, whether you are a quote unquote Maroon, wherever you are from throughout the island, I invite you to lean in, learn more, ask questions, visit, spend time. Don't go to the resorts. Go to country. Return to your ancestral landscape, because these are our. This is where we are restored. This is where we are healed, and it's home, and you have a right to be there, and it will be healing for your soul.
Yes, 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 yes. I love it. Yes.
Absolutely.
Heal and restored. But there was a question from the audience. Did you get that
I
question,
did
Sister
not
Sharon?
see that question. Mr. P, if you could put that question up.
What was that question?
All right.
Okay.
So the current chief of Maroon? All right. So we do have a question in our live audience that's asking you to expand upon the current chief in Maroon.
Well, I want to just clarify that there isn't a chief.
What?
There are chiefs
Chiefs.
or
Chiefs.
Okay.
colonels. Each,
Colonel.
each Maroon community, Moortown, Charlestown, Scotts Hall, Akompong, Flagstaff, all of these. There are 5 currently existing and recognized Maroon communities, each one of them having their own chief. But I believe the question was about Chief Curry. I'll say big up to Chief
Yes.
Curry in a
Big up.
compound.
Big up.
Great work with the Hurricane Melissa recovery. And I
Yes.
wish him and all of our Maroon brothers and sisters all the best.
Yes,
Agreed.
yes. Thank you for clarifying that. Because you know what? All this time I was thinking he was the head honcho. He was the head person in charge. So you just clarified it. Each town, each
Yeah.
community has their own chief.
He has such a big
Yes.
presence, and so yes,
He
it's
does.
it's not surprising when people think that. Yeah, I will say that for our chief, what I appreciate about him is his accessibility. I have been fortunate enough to, without any advance notice, to sit down and talk with him. So I think that that's important.
And you said our chief. And can I just ask you to get a little personal before we go, because time is really right upon
yeah.
us. We're done. But do you belong to the same community? I mean, you and Dr.
Yeah,
Fuller?
yeah, we're the
Okay.
three of us actually as well. Yes, we're
Okay.
part of
And what community is that? I mean, what's the name of that
Moortown.
community? Moortown.
Moortown.
Interesting.
Yes.
And that's in Portland. I
Yes.
can't wait to
Yes.
get there. I can't wait to get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I love that that you are encouraging and inviting others to
Yes.
definitely visit. I visited. I had a quick story with that. I visited, and we end up coming back when it was late at night. And so, yeah, my husband and I, we had a guide, and it was just the 3 of us walking through. And I tell you, out of the bushes, man with the machete, and them I look, and them I read, and we said, whoa, but we just keep on because we know we're part of this, so we never have no fear. But it was like, out to the bushes, we're just,
Yeah.
Security. I love that.
it was
love
so
that.
deep. But yes,
And
definitely
safe
go, if you're going at night, have a guide.
The Maroon communities are very safe.
Oh,
Very,
yeah.
very-
Of course.
Yeah, we felt at home.
highlight
So
that.
yeah, absolutely. But it was just funny how we just saw the eyes. All right, Speak Harmony family.
Wow. We just want to thank you
We
guys.
really hope that you enjoyed this session. And I told you, it's so nice we had to bring it twice.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
we encourage you all to really understand your heritage, and that Black history is not just
1 month.
1 month, but it is not just for Black people. So as we learn and we educate, we also want to remind there are many other cultures, and it's respecting.
Yes.
And just because you are pro and you honor your culture does not mean that you're against any other.
I like that.
Because-
Thank you for putting that out.
So
there.
we are definitely
And
speaking
what's Sharon
harmony.
time Sharon again? I just got to get that in. What is Sharon time Sharon again? Any math with it? Sharon
Sharon squared. Sharon
Sharon
squared.
squared. You're not trouble. You know,
I did a little bit of that.
You know, Harcourt, before you leave, I have to ask you, because the last time you were here, you were wearing a Wu-Tang t-shirt. Now you have on a Wu-Tang cap. So I love the Wu-Tangs. I just want to know
Yes.
where that came from.
Listen, I am the biggest. I'm a New Yorker.
Me
I am
too.
I think Wu-Tang is the best rap group, hip hop group of all time.
Hands down.
I have all their albums. I'm just a big,
Oh, you
big
agree too, Melissa?
Hands down, hands down, hands down. Yes.
Absolutely. You know,
Yes,
that was
yes.
my first introduction to hip hop was
Yeah.
through the Wu-Tang gang. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was my son was listening. I was like, what's that? And he's like, Wu-Tang. And I was like, what?
It's
Hip hop.
unity.
At that time, I couldn't understand what they were talking about. But now I got it.
9 different MCs coming together.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
It was
this-
powerful.
Let's leave Wu-Tang for another time.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we're
powerful,
not going to talk about that yet, because I saw them in concert and I was like, whew.
Yes. So speak
Thank
Harmony
you. We
family.
appreciate
Thank
you
so
too for
much.
taking the time out to join us and educate our audience.
Yes,
We look forward to doing this again.
definitely. Well,
Wow.
just before we leave, any community chat, would you want to remind them about what's happening in March? Because that's a big thing.
Yeah, well, you know what? We're coming up because we're getting ready to do some, Marcus Garvey symposium coming up March 25th. So we'll
As we
right
get
up there.
closer?
Thank you, Mr. P. Yes,
you
yes,
go.
yes. It's going to be on March 25th, 6 to 9 p.m. down there at the Big Bethel AME Church. And we definitely will get more information out to the folks.
So
There's
mark
a
your
whole lot going
calendars,
on. Mark
save
your-
the date.
Save the date. You
Thank
don't want to
you.
miss it. Thank you,
All
Sharon.
right, no worries. So we appreciate Apap Media as we are tuning out again. Dr. Sharon Reid here, known as the Heart Lady in these streets.
Yes.
We appreciate Apap Media Group, which is a full-service media company, for sponsoring this show and most of our shows, all of our shows, and to our other sponsor, Heart Love Inc., who specializes in emotional and relationship managers. So guess what, folks? You know the deal. Join us next Tuesday right here, live on YouTube, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, as we continue learning from those who inspire us through action and purpose. And until then, do what, Sharon?
Like,
Speak
like.
harmony into life.
Yes.
And then what?
Like, subscribe, and share.
Share.
Until next time, see you next Tuesday.
All right.
Ciao.
One love. We appreciate APAP Media Group, a full-service media company, for sponsoring of this show, and to our other sponsor, Heart Love Inc., who specializes in relationship and emotional management. For more information, contact speakharmony1@gmail.com. So join us next Tuesday right here, live on YouTube, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, as we continue learning from those who inspire us through action and purpose. Until then, keep speaking harmony into your life.
And on that note, we would love for you to like, subscribe, and share. See you next week.
They talk about health, they talk about care, sharing tips, they got us without a care. Thank you for listening, you're the best. See you next week to keep the best. Together we learn, together we grow. There'll be lesson every hour, we know. See you next week with more stories to tell. More wisdom, more smile.